First of all, when I tell you I felt everything, 9 pounds, wasn't quite expecting that. It was the tippity too. Fun at the same time. Well, hello you guys. What is up? What is happening? I have been gone for a minute here on YouTube, but as you might know, if you follow me, it's because I had my baby who is all snuggle buggled in this little, I think this wrap is called the boba wrap, which makes me thirsty for a boba drink. But little babe is right here, daughter number 2. And I thought now, 4 weeks postpartum, 4 weeks old, almost a month old, that now would be a good time to film our little birth story or birth experience. Now I have to say, I am very thankful, very grateful that I have had a very positive hospital birth experience this time around. Daughter number 1, it wasn't a bad experience necessarily. I didn't have a lot of issues. I did have a couple things that happened that we'll kind of talk about the parallels, but overall this experience, like hands down, was so amazing. And I'm so grateful, especially to the nursing staff and my doctors, and just, it was just wonderful. So I want to share with you all of those details, share you some of the funny stories, some of the things that kind of stressed me out a little bit. Even though this is a positive experience, there's always some decisions that need to be made and things like that. So if that is something you want to hear all about, then grab a snack, grab a cup of tea, grab some coffee, whatever you would like to snack on, and you can go ahead and sit back, hang tight, keep on watching. Boop! Okay, so I'm gonna start at the beginning and I will stop when it's the end of the story, right? Sound good? So first of all, I was expecting my daughter right here to come around the same time my first daughter did. My first daughter came at 38 weeks plus maybe like 3 days. So 38 weeks came and went, and the little baby was not ready to come out yet. In fact, my first daughter, I think I was already 2 centimeters dilated at that doctor checkup, where this one, I was only barely 1 centimeter. I think she was just saying that to make me feel better, honestly. She was like, yeah, like 1. Not effaced or anything like that. So that can really not mean that much though, because you could be 1 centimeter at your doctor's appointment in the morning and then by the afternoon, boom, here's baby. But sometimes it takes a little while, and this one wanted to take a longer time. That's totally okay. It was 39 weeks plus 4 days, 5 days actually. I was almost to her due date, and it was the middle of the night, 2:30 in the morning. I woke up as I normally would to use the restroom, and then I got hungry because I couldn't fall back asleep. I had a little protein bar, and I was like, okay, it's time to try to go back to sleep. Laid down, I felt a weirdness down in the lower tummy area, almost like a little pop, but not really, because my first daughter, my water broke with her, and it was like a distinct pop. And in fact, I was on the toilet, way convenient, right? To have your water break right on the toilet. That was wonderful. So I was in bed. I felt it wasn't really a pop so much, like it's just a quick movement, okay? Just like, you know, a little something. I was like, that's weird. Let me go to the bathroom, because nothing came out, you know? So I walked over to the restroom and I sat on the toilet for probably a good like 4 minutes. Nothing was happening. I was so like hopeful that my water would break on the toilet again, because like I said, it was so convenient. You didn't have to clean up any mess. So it didn't happen. So I got up and I was looking at my tummy in the mirror and I was like, you know what? This kind of looks like a different shape. I had felt all week that she was more like sideways or just like a different position. It didn't really seem like she was head down, and I totally forgot to ask the doctor at my 38 and 39 week checkup, and it just seemed like a different shape. So when I was looking in the mirror, she seemed a little bit more vertical, as one baby would when they're getting ready to descend upon the canal. So as I was looking at my tummy, boom, snap, pop, snap, crackle, pop, there goes some water. Not a tremendous amount. So I squatted over to the toilet, had a little bit more come out, but it was not as dramatic as my first daughter. So at that point, I started getting in my head. And I was like, you know, did I just have a little accident? I mean, I just went to the bathroom, but you never know. Haven't really had an accident before, but you never know. So I waited, and it wasn't really coming out. But then, you know, I called my husband over. It was 4:30 in the morning. He's like, oh, jumps up. Okay, it's happening. And I'm like, let me make sure. Let me be sure. And then I got up and kind of walked around. Sure enough, more was coming out. Okay, okay, it is go time. Let's gather our things. Let's start getting ready. He ran over and got our daughter up, who is 5 years old now, and she jumped right out of bed, so excited, which usually she is so difficult to wake up in the morning. And it was 4:30 in the morning at that, so bravo to her. She was so excited for baby sister to start heading down, coming out to the world. And I began to get ready and finish packing everything. I took a shower. Now, the reason why I didn't rush to the hospital is a couple reasons. Usually they do want you to come to the hospital right away when your water breaks, but with my first daughter, it took like, I think 4 hours for actual labor to begin. But because you're water breaking, there is risk of infection. So they don't want you to take too long to get to the hospital. They want you to kind of get going right away. So I took a shower and I finished packing a couple things, and then I called them because I still hadn't felt any contractions or anything. I did, leading up to the water breaking for a few days, feel random contractions. And listen, I've been having Braxton Hicks, or I was having Braxton Hicks for probably the entire 3rd trimester, but it was a different sensation because Braxton Hicks, you kind of feel like your tummy hardening. And for me, it almost like took the wind out of me a little bit, but not super dramatically, just like a little bit, and not painful. Where the contractions that I was feeling for the few days leading up to my water breaking was more period cramp-like, lower down in this region, but not so severe. It was just kind of like, okay, I think things are happening, things are shifting. I definitely felt like it was gonna be soon. So anyways, going back to that morning, 4:30 in the morning, taking a shower, I give the hospital a call and I let them know, and they said, okay, come on in, we'll check you out. And they never believe you that your water broke. They don't. They always think you had a little accident. And I understand, you know, there's things that can, you know, go on, but you know, my water broke, definitely. So fast forward, we're at the hospital, we're checking in, and they try to have me just like my first daughter, okay? They tell you to get undressed and they're going to check the fluid to make sure that it's water. Well, with my first daughter, it was hilarious because it was gushing out, okay? If you ever experienced your water breaking, you know sometimes it could just be Niagara Falls down there, okay? So my first daughter, it definitely was. I was like, are you sure? Because like I had so many, you know, pads and stuff to catch everything. And they're like, yes, get undressed, waist down, everything. I was like, okay. And they're walking out of the room and I start to, and she hears like this gush. It's like, okay. I was like, I told you, like, you know, it was gonna, yeah. So they knew that was that. But with this time around, it was more of like a slow trickle. So it wasn't as dramatic, but I did have a difficult time still in the bathroom when I was changing into my gown, because every once in a while you'd get like this psh thing. They are like, okay, we're gonna check, and they check it and they're like, it's just not coming up as, you know, one thing or another. And I'm just like, every time I would move in the bed at that point, because they had me in the bed, I would feel it. And I'm like, for sure it's my water break, but whatever, you guys need to do whatever. They had one of the doctors that were on call come do my ultrasound. They saw baby was in the right position and everything like that. She was exactly the way that she needs to be, facing my backbone. Now this is important, facing back, head down, everything that the baby is supposed to be doing. They decide after they left the strip on there for a long time that yes, it is my water, let's get her admitted. So we get to my room, and by that point it is just about to be 7:30. And if you know anything about hospitals and nursing, usually 7:30 is the changeover for staff. So it was perfect timing because right when we were admitted into the room, I got my nurse, who would end up being my nurse for the entire day. And that was awesome. She was awesome, wonderful. I loved everybody that we came in contact with, for my nursing staff, for the doctors, anesthesiologists, everybody was so awesome, which is a big difference between my first experience and this one especially. So I'm so grateful. I cannot say enough good things about them. But anyways, they are monitoring me, they're checking everything out, and they're noticing that contractions still aren't getting along. They're not consistent, they're extremely random, and they're not really painful at all for me. And I wouldn't probably notice that I was having most of them except for the monitors showing like a little something. So the conversation of Pitocin needed to start, and I really didn't want to rush into getting it if everything was fine with baby, if we were healthy and everything was looking good. But it's something that we need to talk about. So I asked them, like, let me try to get this going myself and try to walk around the room. I couldn't walk the halls because of COVID, but let me try everything I can. I'll do squats. They gave me a bunch of sugary drinks and like cranberry juice and Jello and anything I could to try to get baby up and moving and active because they saw that she was at her resting heart rate and she wasn't, you know, she wasn't in any kind of rush or anything like that. Now keep in mind, if we did decide to get the Pitocin, we need a baby to be more active anyways. They wanted to make sure that she was stable enough and awake enough to be able to have it all going on. I don't know all the semantics behind that, but something about all of that. So we had to keep that in mind. I was trying my best to get everything moving and grooving. I think it was 11:30, so I tried for quite a few hours to get things going, and my legs were just getting exhausted at that point. Me and carrying around my babe and, you know, doing all the things, walking back and forth. It starts to make you kind of feel crazy because you're just walking around this little room, and I was like, I can't keep walking. And I kept looking at the monitors to see, and I probably shouldn't have done that because I kept trying to see, are my contractions getting stronger? What's going on? I was in a rocking chair. I was trying all of that. And speaking of rocking chair, it was so cool that they had a rocking chair in there, but I was trying that at one point, and that's when my water like full on broke, but 2 times. So one of the times it was just my husband and I in the room, and I go to stand up and there's like, I would say a medium-sized gush. And I know it was medium because there was a much larger one to follow. So a medium-sized gush. I don't know why. I don't automatically think to call the nurse in. I make my husband help me like kind of clean up a little bit. And we do that really fast because it wasn't too bad. Like I said, it was a medium amount. We clean up. I needed to go to the bathroom. That's why I stood up. So I went to the bathroom and dressed myself to put the stuff there so to catch all the amniotic fluid. And then I sat back down in the rocking chair for a little bit, had some more Jello, all of that, and then I stood up again, and that was the large gush. That was the one that you think of in the movies with a huge bucket of water pouring out of your body. That's what happened. And right at that same time, the nurse walked in and she was just like, oh my gosh, are you okay? What's going on? And I'm like, oh, just my fluid. She totally thought that I just had a major accident. And I was telling her, it's like, no, like this, we're just laughing about it. She's like, I've never seen this before in all my years. And I was like, this is amniotic fluid. I'm telling you, this is my water breaking. It's not that I needed to go to the bathroom. I mean, I did need to go to the bathroom, but I still needed to go to the bathroom after that huge gush, you know. So she helped me get cleaned up. We're laughing the entire time. I go use the restroom, and I actually use the restroom. And then she's like, oh yeah, you definitely, those were 2 separate things. Like, yes, they were. So after I came out of the bathroom, after I got all cleaned up, me and the nurse talked about getting Pitocin started and taking that a little bit more seriously, because at that point, honestly, I was so exhausted. I had tried so hard to get labor naturally going. Like I said, squats, walking around the room, all the sugary drinks. Baby was just not into it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna lay down at this point in the bed. And she's like, great, we'll monitor you. And as soon as we feel comfortable with the level of contractions or baby, we can get Pitocin started. So for that next I think it ended up being about an hour, I stopped looking at the contraction little papers that would come out in the monitor. And I think looking back at that, that was part of the thing that was stressing me out and probably preventing me from progressing, as I wasn't relaxing like I thought I was. Like, we were taking it easy, we were joking around with the nurse and stuff, but I kept looking at that contraction screen. I kept looking at the clock because I so badly wanted to get things going on my own, because I've heard that Pitocin can be really extra painful and you want to try to avoid, you know, as much intervention as possible within reason, as long as everybody's healthy and happy. So I'm laying in bed, not looking at the monitors, and honestly, contractions were starting to get stronger. I definitely felt them more, but for that entire hour, they never once became consistent and effective. So they were random. I would have like one little one really strong one, and then I would go like 5 minutes without anything. It was really all over the place, but they were happy enough. Once I reached an hour, they were happy with what they saw, and they said, okay, we're gonna start you on the lowest amount of Pitocin that we can to try to get things moving along. Well, that low dose, within, I think it wasn't until like 1:30 that I got the Pitocin started, and within like, I think it was a half an hour, 45 minutes, because she's like, okay, I'm gonna come back and check on you, see how your contractions are. They were so consistent, like spot on. They were starting to get really painful, and then she's like, okay, let's give you another hour at this level and then we can see about upping it. Oh my goodness, it was starting to get really serious. By 3:30, which is 2 hours later on the Pitocin, they were so strong, so intense. I was starting to get the shakes and the shivers, which I did get with my first daughter, but I got an epidural and I thought it was because of that I was getting a shakes, and it might have been, but this time, because I felt like I had gone longer and contractions were so incredibly intense. So now I know that it's just my body's way of responding to the contractions is with the shivers and the chills and shakes, and it's, you know, it's an intense experience riding that wave. So I went as long as I could, and the nurse said, hey, I know that you're interested in getting an epidural. The anesthesiologist is making his rounds, but there's 3 other women who are on the list to get it too. Do you want me to grab them really quick? Because you seem like you are in a lot of pain. And I was like, yes, like, let's just get it going because I don't want to miss my opportunity. It's always a hard thing with an epidural. You're always kind of worried. Are you going to get it too soon and you're going to slow things down? Or are you going to get it too late and you're not going to be able to get it, or it's going to be pointless, or you're going to go numb right when you don't want to, when baby's coming out and you need to feel the pushing. So she got that going for me. He came like within 15 minutes probably, and he was wonderful. Everything was great. It's not the most comfortable experience in epidural. If you have any questions about it, you know, leave them down in the comments, or I could do a separate video on my experience with that. But it's the most uncomfortable part for me is the fact that you have to lean forward. And when leaning forward doesn't sound like a big deal until you have, you know, your 9-month belly over and you have your partner or whoever your birthing partner is in front of you and holding on, and you have to arch your back. And it's not even the actual epidural insertion that is painful. It's the position that you need to be in with this big old belly. That is the most uncomfortable. And it wasn't painful, it's just super uncomfortable. And at the same time, you're having contractions, and it's a lot going on. So epidural goes in, and when I tell you, the relief that I felt from that epidural was the best that I felt in 9 months, because the anesthesiologist had the smoothest, lowest voice, and he's like, okay, you're gonna feel a little warm sensation. And from the stomach down, I just felt just relief. And I told him, it feels like I'm on the beach getting a nice tan on my legs. Like, that's what it felt like, this nice warm sunny day type of feeling. And that didn't last very long, but for that moment it felt really good, and I didn't feel pain, and I didn't feel my stomach being all stretched out. Like, I was so uncomfortable for those last couple months of my pregnancy. Now I know why, especially, but it just felt like my stomach was gonna burst. So I felt relief from that. The contractions just felt a little bit more like a pressure, like I could still feel them, but it was a pressure. Now, when they put my epidural in, the nurse let me know, okay, we have it at the lowest setting, and I don't know much about epidurals, but she's like, we're at the lowest setting. If you want more, just let us know and we'll up it. I don't know if they wear off, I'm not sure, but I did mention to them, you know, in my first birthing experience with my first daughter, it didn't feel like the epidural really worked, because by the time it came time to, you know, get serious, and I think I was like 9-10 centimeters, I was feeling everything, but I was able to push. So after thinking about it throughout my pregnancy, I kind of liked that I was able to push and feel everything with that. So I told her that, you know, I did like that the epidural kind of just helped me get through all of those contractions and what could last for hours and days for some people. I was totally okay with keeping it on the lowest dose. I actually kept it there the entire time. I don't know if they decided to turn it off or anything like that. So after they put the epidural in, that's when they did their first cervical check. So I was very disappointed to find out that I was actually only 3 centimeters. So I think the intensity that I was feeling from the contractions did have something to do with the Pitocin, like I've heard. Maybe it's in my head, I don't know, but yeah, they were so intense. I thought I would be much farther along. So I was disappointed when I found out it was only 3 centimeters, but she's like, listen, don't even worry about that. Things could still happen really fast. It's no big deal. Cause I was thinking, oh my gosh, I have to be 7 centimeters to be asking for an epidural, and they're so intense, but no, whatever. So she's like, let's just ride this out. Let's see how you do. I'll come back and check. So, you know, she was coming in and checking. By 4:30 though, I was starting to feel things again, and she had me laying on my side, and let me tell you, my hospital provided these peanut balls. They're like exercise balls, but they're shaped like a peanut. She had me on my side, and she puts it in between my legs. I don't know if it's that position. I don't know if it was a Pitocin. I don't know if baby was ready to come out and meet us. I don't know if it was the epidural helping me finally relax, that things were getting going. I remember right at that 4:30 mark, I was starting to hold on to the side of the bed, and I was like really feeling like not quite the urge to push yet, but it was getting there. I was feeling a lot of pressure. I was starting to feel my contractions again. By 5:30, I was getting that urge to push, like seriously. She had left right before 5:30. She was doing her check. She's like, okay, you seem like you're getting really far along. I see you kind of, you know, I'm not talking through contractions. I'm just feeling them. I'm going through the motions. Let me know if you start to feel that pressure or urge to push. And I was just like, you nodding my head, not even answering. And she leaves the room, and she can monitor, you know, the nurses can monitor your contractions from outside too. She leaves the room, and no joke, the next contraction that I had could have taken me out. I was holding on, trying not to push. She let me have a second contraction. When that second contraction happened, within 30 seconds, she comes in right away and she's like, okay, so what are you feeling? How's it going? I'm like, yeah, okay. Definitely, yeah. I wasn't even answering. And she's like, let me check you really quickly. She does a little check. She's like, oh, that's baby's head. Let's get going. So everybody comes in. It all happened so fast. Oh, hi. I'm telling the story of you. It all happened so fast. There were so many nurses. My doctor was in driving distance. She was on call. So another doctor that was in for, you know, they have a doctor that's on staff all the time who was awesome. He kept checking in on us all day. He was hilarious. He's like, okay, let's do some practice pushes, you know, all that. And then I hear the nurses in the background saying, don't you deliver that baby, because this doctor, my normal doctor, will be so mad at me if we deliver another one of her babies without her. And he's like, no, I'm just gonna practice, But you could tell he really wanted to deliver our baby, and everybody was so excited. It was like weird that I was in so much pain and everything was going on, and it's so chaotic, but it was like fun at the same time. And it was funny because there was just so much excitement in the room, and it was just so positive and wonderful, and it was just something that I just was not expecting. So I did like some practice pushes for about 20 to 30 minutes. And when we say practice pushes, no, I was really actively trying to get baby out. I mean, I love my doctor, but you know, at the end of the day, when you have a baby coming out of you, you are ready to get it out of you. Doctor comes, my normal doctor comes at, you know, about a half an hour, and she's ready, she's going, everything's happening. Apparently some really funny things were happening. I wasn't made aware of this until after, when my husband was letting me know about our birth experience and the things that I wasn't witness to because I was in the zone. And one of them was, okay, listen, they always say, and it happens, that you might have a number 2 on the table, the birthing table, okay? So no big deal, it happens, whatever. But apparently one of the nurses has this solution, maybe like an oil or something, my husband said it looked like, and she called it like dippity-doo or something. So they were having her like pour it on every once in a while, the like oil, and then maybe it's like mineral oil or something, I don't know. And then the doctors were stretching and nurses were stretching, and let me tell you that I felt everything. And that's how I know my epidural was either on the lowest setting or shut off at that point, because my doctor has 10 fingers. That nurse has 10 fingers. Everybody, I can guarantee you, has all 10 of their digits, because I felt all of it. I felt baby crowning, ring of fire, the whole thing. I could move my legs entirely. I was in complete control of my body. I felt every contraction. I didn't have any like things on or anything, because they were able to just read off of me of when my contractions were starting. So yeah, I don't know if my epidural was just shut off at that point, which is totally fine with me if it was, or if it was just on the lowest setting. But anyways, the nurse that was putting dippity-doo on I was not aware of this. I was so distracted with the stretching, and then they kept wiping it after. So she would do the dippity-doo, and then they would stretch things, and then they would wipe it. I thought I kept having like, and I'm not going to say TMI because hello, you're at a birth story, so this is going to happen, but I thought it was lava poop. I thought I was having like major bowel issues, and I remember telling my husband a couple times, I'm sorry, and his face would be like, what? And I was like, oh, he's so nice, trying to not make me feel bad that I'm having this explosive diarrhea all over the table. But I wasn't. It was the dippity-doo. It was this oil, and when my husband told me that, like, you know, a few days after, I was cracking up because I thought I was going to the bathroom everywhere, and they were trying to be so nice. And I thought dippity-doo was like, she was like, oh, dippity-doo. And I thought that was like a nice way of saying, like, we're just gonna clean this up, honey. You know, no big deal. But it was this special, you know, solution to try to, you know, get everything opened up and help baby, facilitate baby to enter this world, which made me feel a lot better too. So it was really funny. But anyways, baby eventually decides to come out. At that point, I had totally reached that. I knew baby had to come out soon. Like looking back on it, the last 2 pushes, I remember looking at my husband and saying, I just want her out, please. Like, let's get going. It was an hour of pushing. I was done. I was ready. Baby comes out and I felt everything. It was such a bizarre experience. So I know that with my first daughter, I must have had a stronger epidural because I don't remember feeling every ligament come out of my body, which was so crazy. Nobody ever told me that. And again, I didn't feel it with my first daughter. Like I felt her shoulders, I felt her arms, I felt her legs, everything slide out of me. And it was so crazy. And I had my eyes closed because I was like trying so hard to push out, and I was so relieved the moment that she came out. She cried right away, which was awesome. And they plopped her on my chest and skin to skin, and everybody suddenly, I could hear in the background, was like, wow, oh my goodness, like, oh, I can't wait to see how much she weighs. And my husband's just like, oh my goodness, like crying and so excited. We're all crying, everybody's just so excited. But I kept hearing these little snippets of like weight and stuff, and I just didn't realize. And my husband Jeff is like, look down. Like I was looking at her face, but he's like, look at how she's the size of you. And sure enough, I was like, oh my goodness, she was so long, she was so big, and none of us were expecting that. My first daughter was 7 pounds, like almost exactly. She was 19 inches. Baby girl number 2 was 9 pounds, 1 ounce, and 20.5 inches. And she, you know, I'm only 5'4", okay? And pre-pregnancy, I'm about 130 pounds. And it's really funny because I have a lot of babies in my family. Like I come from 5, my sister has 5. We have a lot of kids, a lot of nieces and nephews, okay? But I get to hold the title of biggest baby, and I'm the shortest. How I got her out of me, I will never know. But not only that, she ended up being sunny side up. And if you don't know what sunny side up is, that means the nose is out facing this way. So she started the day, if you remember way back when we talked about this at the beginning, she was facing the right way, facing my back. Somehow in there, she flipped sunny side up and was facing upwards, which my doctor told me repeatedly, that's the equivalent to 1 extra pound of pushing. So technically it's about a 10-pound baby equivalent I'm pushing out, which I don't know. I think at a certain weight, you probably don't notice a difference, but let me tell you, oh my goodness, I cannot believe it. So needless to say, I feel extremely justified in the fact that I was so uncomfortable in especially my last trimester that it was just, I could barely move, and sitting hurts and standing hurts, laying down, everything hurt, and my belly felt like it was going to stretch open. And she was like, I knew when she was active, but she was not active like my first daughter was, because I could feel her kicks and punches. This one, it would be like little nudges, little, like a mini dance party. So she didn't have very much room either, and we both felt very justified, okay? Like that is why I wasn't in my head. I was so uncomfortable because my baby took up a lot of space in my body. And wow, again, I don't know how I got her out of me, but I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of her for coming on out. It's not easy for them either, and they work hard and they move around, but I have to say, I talked about how amazing all the staff was and everything, and they truly were. Everybody, even after and during recovery, all the different nurses that we had, everybody was so awesome. But also, I'm so thankful that they did not tell me that she was sunny side up, because I definitely feel like I would have been a little bit discouraged with pushing. And I'm glad I didn't know her size ahead of time. Those size predictions that some doctors do are just guesses anyways, and a lot of times they aren't right. I'm grateful that my doctor doesn't like to do them anyways. My last ultrasound, I think, was at 20 weeks, and she does not take any kind of guesses because she's like, it's never been accurate, so why bother? But I'm glad I did not know that I was going to have a 9-pound baby, because again, that probably would have put some stress in my head. I had a wonderful experience overall. It sounds so crazy to say afterwards, because with my first daughter, I had some complications. Like I lost a lot of blood. I was very much, they said, right at the point almost to have to get a blood transfusion. I passed out right after having her. This baby, everything was just so fun and positive. My first daughter, I had a midwife I was surprised traumatized by having a midwife, and they were just the meanest person ever, which made the experience really different. So having a wonderful staff to take care of you and help you through it made a world of difference. Okay, so baby just woke up. She is nursing right now, so I've zoomed in a little bit closer for some modesty. But yeah, that is my birth story, our birth story. Like I said, it's so weird to say like I had fun, and like it was just all around such an awesome experience, and I'm really happy. Oh yes, and let me know if you do have any questions for me, because I think I'm gonna do a Q&A soon. So if you have any questions regarding pregnancy or delivery or postpartum essentials, baby favorites, anything like that, let me know down in the comments below. I'll try to do a Q&A soon. And I also will have lots of beauty videos and stuff coming out as well. I have so many ideas for different videos. I have a whole list. When I'll be able to do all those videos, I'm not sure. I'm gonna enjoy this newborn phase and just take it day by day. And if I have time to film, if I'm able to, and baby's chilling, then I will. But I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself, but I'm also so excited because I love filming so much, and I'm excited to get back into it. And make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet and you just happen to be stumbling upon my video. Make sure your bell is turned on if you are subscribed. That way you get notified, you know, notifications are turned on from YouTube when I post. But in case YouTube fails you, which they usually do, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, Snapchat, all those places where I usually like to let you guys know as well if I post a video. But that is it for today. Thank you so much again. She's saying bye too. Thank you so much again for watching our little birth story, and I hope that you have a great, freaking awesome, wonderful, beautiful, happy day.